my son, y'all. No copyright infringement here, Facebook. This is my baby. This is my son. Picture this. Just hold on, y'all. Let me get a couple of things. No more starving, no more hustling, no begging in the streets. A land of milk and honey where we got enough to eat. Walk with me for a second and I'll show you where it be. Where right back. That's my baby, y'all. Cycles of yelling out death threats over beats. What pocket BIG is still alive. And black folk ain't got a robbing still just to try and survive. Where popping guns ain't live cause we all about creation. Children roaming the streets, leisurely recreation. No worries about them getting lost and being taken cause we all one village, no pillage, no raping. Just picture that. Ooh, look like I got a little infestation of ladybugs. I don't know what's going on here. But okay, y'all, I'm about to get started. All right. That was my baby, y'all. That was some of my baby's music. My son done made 5 albums, and he's just an humble young man. He really is. Very proud of him. All right. Well, thank you for joining your girl, Unique Air, once again for another reading. And you know what I was thinking, y'all? I'm like, I know my little background is a little whack and everything, and I don't have all the high-tech stuff, but it's real. It's real. And for me, I want realness. I don't care about all the bells and whistles because you know what? That's a lot like Hollywood, and it becomes mundane and everybody's got all the special effects and all of this. I'd rather have that real one-on-one. Sorry, y'all, that's my nose ring. It's just always peeking out, this damn thing. I'd rather have real one-on-one than to have all the bells and whistles stuff going on in the background, opening video, closing video. And maybe one day I might do those things, but for now, I don't even care about it. What's more important to me is to get this out, okay? Knowledge is what's more important. And so again, I'm going to be reading. Thank you for joining your girl, Unique Air. I got to be, I got to stay on top of my opening and listen. This is real here. Y'all know who I am. You see my name right there at the bottom of the screen, Unique Air, your deaf doula, talking and expounding on principles that will help you in this life and beyond. And you know when we say death, when I say death, ain't really no death. It's life after life. We already know that. I'll just say your life after life doula, okay? Because a lot of people are leaving here today and people don't understand what to expect on the other side. They don't understand, what happens after death. People don't usually even take the time to think about it. I have a girlfriend that if I bring up the topic of death and she's the age of my mother, she's like, I don't want to talk about that. I'm going to live. I'm going to live. The med beds are coming and I'm going to live. And I'm like, okay, if that's how you feel, that's all right. I'm sorry, y'all. Let me get over here. This nose ring is just, it's like poking out, trying to say hello. But people are afraid to talk about it, or they think that, once they leave, that's it. And that's just not true. So this is going to be the 3rd chapter in the Astral Body series. Yesterday, we talked about the description of the astral body. We also went into the appearance of it, the feel of it, and things like that, and the function of it. All right. So today we're going to go into the colors. Let's see how long of a chapter this is going to be. Okay. Because on the other side, y'all probably heard before, the colors on the other side more beautiful than they are in this realm. All right. So let's go ahead and get it. I ain't going to hesitate anymore. I will read and I will expound. Okay. I'll expound on it. All right. Here we go. Colors. To clairvoyant sight, one of the principal features of an astral body consists of the colors which are constantly playing through it. These colors corresponding to and being the expression in astral matter of feelings, passions, and emotions. So the feelings, passions, and emotions determine the color of your astral body. And somebody that's a clairvoyant can see your colors, okay? It says here, all known colors, and many which are at present unknown to us, exist upon each of the higher planes of nature. But as we rise from one stage to another, they become more delicate and more luminous. so that they may be described as higher octaves of color. And that's how, when people have near death experiences, they always come back and say, the colors, I've never seen colors like this on earth. I've never seen colors, in the third dimension that way. The colors on the other side are so beautiful, so vibrant. That's why, okay? They become more luminous, says here. As it is not possible to portray these octaves physically on paper, the above facts should be borne in mind when considering the colored illustrations of the astral body, which are referred to below. The following is a list of the principal colors and the emotions which they are an expression. All right, so I'm going to tell you the colors and the emotions that goes with these colors. So, right. So if you see somebody, and say if you're a clairvoyant, or you see somebody with these colors, you already know what time it is. Okay. So black, that's hatred and malice. And that's in like thick clouds. That's what the black aura looks like. Hatred is from hatred and malice and thick clouds. Red is deep red flashes, usually on a black background, and that's anger. A scarlet cloud is irritability. A brilliant scarlet on the ordinary background of the aura is noble indignation. All right. A lurid and sanguinary red, unmistakable, though not easy to describe, is sensuality. That's why they use red and red lipstick, right? Uh, Brown and gray is dull, hard, brown gray, selfishness. One of the commonest colors in the astral body, a dull brown and gray. Brown and gray. A brown red is dull, almost rust colored, is avarice, usually arranged in parallel bars across the body. So avarice is the emotion for the brown, red, dull, almost rust color. Greenish brown is jealousy, and it's lit up by deep red or scarlet flashes. In the case of an ordinary man, there is usually much of this color present when he is in love. Because most men and women are jealous for their lovers, right? So you'll see the greenish brown. You think about the green, I think about the Hulk, the jealousy, okay? Gray is for depression and is heavy laden, like the brown red of avarice, arranged in parallel lines, conveying the impression of a cage. Mm. So when you're depressed, your aura is gray and it's like a cage is around you. So livid gray, which is like angry gray, because when you're livid, you're angry, right? Is a hideous and frightful hue, and that comes with fear. So when you're fearful, you have like a livid gray aura around you. Crimson is selfish love. That's the emotion that goes with the crimson aura. It's dull and heavy. Rose color is unselfish love. When exceptionally brilliant, is tinged with lilac, spiritual love for humanity. I wonder, that must be the color I have because I love everybody. I swear I do. I may have a mean, resting bitch face, but I do love everybody. And I'm not quick to get angry, right? So orange is pride or ambition, often found with irritability. So if somebody has an orange aura, that's pride or ambition, often found with irritability. Wow. Yellow is intellect. And if y'all listen to my first broadcast, that's a color that the young lady in Atlanta told me that I had. And at that time I didn't understand oral colors, but she was just like, your aura is yellow. And at that time I was really into studying, and not like I am now. So a yellow aura represents intellect, and it varies from a deep and dull tint through a brilliant gold to clear and luminous lemon or primrose yellow. Dull yellow implies the direction of faculty to selfish purposes. So, like somebody trying to study to get some information so they can use it against somebody, that's a dull yellow, right? For selfish purposes. Clear gamboge indicates a distinctly higher type, and primrose yellow denotes intellect devoted to spiritual ends. Gold indicates pure intellect applied to philosophy or mathematics. All right. Green aura in general varies greatly in its significance and needs study to be interpreted correctly. Mostly it indicates adaptability. A gray green, slimy in appearance, is deceit and cunning. Emerald green Is versatility, ingenuity, and resourcefulness applied unselfishly. A pale, luminous blue green aura is deep sympathy and compassion with the power of perfect adaptability, which only they can give. And a bright apple green seems always to accompany strong vitality. A blue aura, which is dark and clear, is religious feeling, the devotion, right? It is liable to be tinted by many other qualities, thus becoming any shade from indigo or rich deep violet to muddy green blue. Light blue aura, such as ultramarine or cobalt, is devotion to a noble spiritual idea. A tint of violet indicates a mixture of affection and devotion. Okay. A luminous lilac blue, usually accompanied by sparkling golden stars, the higher spirituality with lofty spiritual aspirations. All right. Ultraviolet aura is higher and purer developments of psychic faculties. And an ultra red aura is lower psychic faculties of one who dabbles in evil and selfish forms of magic. Remember these colors, y'all, because as you develop your gifts, you want to know what you're looking at. It says joy shows itself in a general brightening and radiancy of both mental and astral bodies, and in a peculiar rippling of the surface of the body. Cheerfulness shows itself in a modified bubbling form of this, and also in a steady serenity. Surprise, surprise, is shown by a sharp constriction of the mental body, usually communicated to both the astral and physical bodies, accompanied by an increased glow of the band of affection if the surprise is a pleasant one, and by an increase of brown and gray if the surprise is an unpleasant one. The constriction often causes unpleasant feelings, affecting someone, sometimes the solar plexus, resulting in sinking and sickness, and sometimes the heart center, causing palpitation and even death. You know, when I think about surprises, I think about how I had an aunt when I had my first son, and she would babysit my son, right? And she had this monster mass that she would just scare the shit out of him. And I used to get so upset. Now my baby was only about maybe two and a half, three, but he would be so happy to see his auntie when I would drop him off. But when I would come to pick him up, my baby would be terrified. He'd just be holding on to her neck, and then he'll jump over to me and hold on to me like, and I'm like, what's wrong? And then she'll go around the corner and come back, with the mask on. He'd just be like, just terrified. Now that is tormenting to a child. Did you hear what that just said here about how it goes into the heart? It can make you sick, to do, and it's crazy how in this society we make that a fun thing. Like Halloween is upon us, and people will go to haunted houses to be terrified, and they'll take their children there to train them to be tormented. Now this is just crazy. Just think about the implications of that. you know? And I think about when I was a kid, a certain family member used to try to terrify me all the time, jumping from around corners, busting in my room, just, scaring the shit out of me. This is not good. It affects your physical body and it affects your aura. Okay? So that's just some food for thought and can cause death, especially if somebody old or weak of heart. It's not funny all the time. If it's not a pleasant surprise, it's not a good one. Okay? Says here, it will be understood that as human emotions are hardly ever unmixed, so these colors are seldom perfectly pure, but more usually mixtures. When you're looking at the aura, it's going to be something tinged in there. They're rarely pure, right? Thus, the purity of many colors is dimmed by the hard brown gray of selfishness or tinged with the deep orange of pride. All right. In reading the full meaning of colors, other points have also to be taken into consideration. The general brilliance of the astral body, the comparative definiteness or indefiniteness of its outline, the relative brightness of the different centers of force. It says to see chapter 5, but we're not going to go ahead. Okay. It says here, the yellow of intellect, the rose of affection, and the blue of devotion are always found in the upper part of the astral body. All right, y'all get that? The yellow of intellect, The rose of affection, which represents love, and that's a lot of time they have those diodes with the upside down triangle. It's like a rose crystal quartz. It represents love. And you got to be careful with them crystals too. Remember that, because I used to have one. I used to wear it all the time. And at that time, that's not what I needed. I was a victim going through a lot of stuff. And it wasn't more love that I needed to give. I needed to be wearing a crystal that was going to give me the power, to give me the wisdom to help assist me to see snakes that was around me and understand what was happening. So when people walking around wearing all these crystals, they need to make sure they got the right ones, because your heart center can be too open. Any one of your chakras can be too open, and whether it's too constricted or too open, it can be bad for you. So you need balance. Remember, balance in all things. All right. So what he's saying here, the yellow of intellect, the rose of affection, and the blue of devotion are always found upper half of the body. That's where you're gonna find those colors. Okay. The colors of selfishness, avarice, deceit, and hatred are in the lower part. I guess it would be like below the belly button. That's where you're gonna find the colors of selfishness, avarice, deceit, and hatred. Let's find out what avarice is. We know it's something that's not positive for sure. I'll turn that off. Let's look up the word avarice, because this is found in the lower astral body. What does the word avarice mean?
Here's the definition of avarice: extreme greed for wealth or material gain.
I'm sure y'all heard that, okay? So avarice is the extreme greed for wealth or material gain. So the colors of selfishness, greed, and deceit and hatred are in the lower part. The mass of sensual feeling float between the two. So when you have sensuality, it's going between the up and the bottom. All right. From this, it follows that in the undeveloped man, the lower portion of the ovoid tends to be larger than the upper, so that the astral body has the appearance of an egg with the small end uppermost. Yeah, y'all hear that? We learned it together, because I haven't read this book in a long time. Um, so for somebody who's spiritually underdeveloped, their astral shape is going to be that of an egg. It's not going to be like, the regular shape of the human body. Is going to be bigger at the top and get leaner going down. It's going to be the opposite, because they're undeveloped. And of course, because their lower nature is ruling, right? Because you got all the lower astral energies of hatred and lust and greed is all down there. So if a person is undeveloped, they're usually dealing in all those things. So it's going to look like the shape of an egg, the aura will. All right. It says here, but remember, the sensual feelings float between the top and the bottom. All right. From this, it follows that in the undeveloped man, the lower portion of the ovoid tends to be larger than the upper, so that the astral body has the appearance of an egg with the small end uppermost. In the more developed man, the reverse is the case. The small end of the egg is pointing downward, because you're using higher, you're coming from a higher mind. So this part of your aura is going to be bigger, and the lower part smaller, right? Okay, it says here, the tendency always is for the symmetry of the ovoid to reassert itself by degrees, so that such appearances are only temporary. Each quality, expressed as a color, has its own special type of astral matter, and the average position of these colors depend upon the specific gravity of the respective grades of matter. The general principle is that evil or selfish qualities express themselves in the comparatively slow vibrations of coarser matter. Okay? When we talk about vibrations, remember yesterday we talked about the 7 levels, and each level having 7 levels beneath that. So the first level being the finest, the 7th level being the coarsest. Okay? It says, while good and unselfish qualities play through finer matter. Let me go back. The general principle is that evil or selfish qualities express themselves in the comparatively slow vibrations of coarse matter. So evil and selfishness works through the coarse matter, which would be the 7th level. And while good and unselfish qualities play through finer matter. All right. This being so, fortunately for us, good emotions persist even longer than evil ones do. The effect of a feeling of strong love or devotion remaining in the astral body long after the occasion that caused it has been forgotten. So love lingers longer than hatred and wickedness. So that means you really got to put in work to keep that negative feeling going, right? You got to really put out some negative thought forms to keep that around like that. You got to keep feeding them. But the love lasts way longer. It is possible, though unusual, to have two rates of vibrations going on strongly in the astral body at the same time, love and anger. The after results will go on side by side, but one at a very much higher level than the other and therefore persisting longer. High, unselfish affection and devotion belong to the highest atomic astral subplane. Okay? So unselfish affection and devotion belongs to the higher atomic level of the astral plane, astral subplane. And these reflect themselves in the corresponding matter of the mental plane. They thus touch the causal, which is the higher mental body, not the lower mental body. All right. This is an important point of which the student should take special note. The ego, who resides on the higher mental plane, is thus affected only by unselfish thoughts. Lower thoughts affect not the ego, but the permanent atoms. It says, see page 207. Not going to do that today. Okay. Consequently, in the causal body, there would be gaps, not bad colors, corresponding to the lower feelings and thoughts. Selfishness, for example, will show itself as the absence of affection or sympathy. As soon as selfishness is replaced by its opposite, the gap in the causal body would be filled up. Follow with me. We'll get an understanding together. An intensification of the coarse colors of the astral body, representing base emotions, which are lower emotions, whilst finding no direct expression in the causal body, nevertheless tends somewhat to dim the luminosity of the colors representing the opposite virtues in the causal body. In order to realize the appearance of the astral body, it must be borne in mind that the particles of which it is composed are always in rapid motion. In the vast majority of cases, the clouds of color melt into one another and are all the while rolling over one another, appearing and disappearing as they roll. The surface of the luminous mist resembling somewhat the surface of violently boiling water. The various colors, therefore, by no means retain the same positions, though there is a normal position towards which they tend to return. So as your feelings change, those colors change. They rolling around like boiling water. You know what I'm saying? So don't tell me ain't no energy behind thought. That's again, like I always say, that's why you can feel it when you go somewhere or somebody don't like you, or you know what I'm saying? You can feel it. You can feel it. And I'm true story real quick. I'm gonna pause for a minute. Hold on, let me finish this. The various colors, therefore, by no means retain the same positions, though there is a normal position towards which they tend to return. Okay? And then they give you a book to go into. It says the student is referred to the book Man, Visible and Invisible by Bishop C.W. Leadbeater. All right? Yeah, they go into that. Says here, the main characteristics of the three types illustrated: undeveloped, the average man, and the developed man may be briefly summarized as follows. Undeveloped man, a very large portion of sensuality, deceit, selfishness, and greed are conspicuous. Are conspicuous. Fierce anger is implied by smears and blots of dull scarlet. Very little affection appears, and such intellect and religious feeling as exist are of the lowest possible kind. The outline is irregular and the colors blurred, thick and heavy. The whole body is evidently ill regulated, confused, and uncontrolled. This is your totally undeveloped person, all right? The average man, sensuality is much less, though still prominent. Selfishness is also prominent, and there is some capability of deceit for personal ends, though the green is beginning to divide into two distinct qualities, showing that cunning is gradually becoming adaptability. Anger is still marked. Affection, intellect, and devotion are more prominent and of a higher quality. The colors as a whole are more clearly defined and distinctly brighter, though none of them are perfectly clear. The outline of the body is more defined and regular. So, y'all see what the difference is between a man who's undeveloped spiritually and then a man who's average. Okay, it's just a little bit better. Now, for the developed man, undesirable qualities have almost entirely disappeared. Across the top of the body, there's a strip of lilac, indicating spiritual aspiration. Above and enveloping the head, there is a cloud of the brilliant yellow of intellect. Below that, there is a broad belt of the blue of devotion. Then across the trunk, there is a still wider belt of the rose of affection. And in the lower part of the body, a large amount of the green of adaptability and sympathy finds its place. The colors are bright, luminous, in clear marked bands. The outline is well defined, and the whole astral body conveys the impression of being orderly and under perfect control. Although we're not in this book dealing with the mental body yet, it should be mentioned that as a man develops, his astral body more and more resembles his mental body until it becomes little more than a reflection of it in the grosser matter of the astral plane. This, of course, indicates that the man has his desires thoroughly under control of the mind and is no longer apt to be swept away by surges of emotion. Such a man will no doubt be subject to occasional irritability and to undesirable cravings of various sorts, but he knows enough now to repress these lower manifestations and not yield to them. At a still later stage, the mental body itself becomes a reflection of the causal body. Since the man now learns to follow solely the promptings of the higher self and to guide his reason exclusively by them. Thus, the mind body and the astral body of an Arhat is spelled Arhat. I don't know what that is. Thus, the mind and the astral body of an Arhat. Let me Google that because we learning something on the way to learning something, y'all. Let's see what an Arhat is. Let me type this. It says here in Buddhism, an Arhat is a being who has achieved enlightenment and is free. Oh my God, from the cycle of rebirth. And that's what I keep telling y'all. You don't want to keep coming back here. I'm an Arhat, okay? Because I'm not coming back here. I want to be free from the cycle of rebirth. I am trying to learn and get all I can so I can be up there with the gods because we are gods in the making. And I want to be up there where it's peace all the time, where I don't have to worry about wars and fighting and guns and sex and food and just, I'm telling you. So that's an Arhat. A Arhat is a being who has achieved enlightenment and is free from the cycle of rebirth. It says here, thus the mind and body of the mind body and the astral body of a being who is free from the cycle of rebirth would have very little characteristic color of their own, but would be reproductions of the causal body insofar as their lower octaves could express it. They have a lovely iridescence, a sort of opalescent mother of pearl effect, which is far beyond either description or representation. And I just want to pause for a minute, y'all, because here on this realm, we got a lot of people walking around like they are our hats, like they've arrived, like the popes, like the Mother Teresa's, like the Buddha. These people rape babies, they drink babies' blood, but they have an image of holiness. They have an image of righteousness. Maybe righteousness don't look like what they try to make us think it look like. Okay? In my life, I go by what I feel when I'm around somebody. I don't go by no titles. I don't go by degrees. And how do you go to school? I was listening to Brother C. Freeman L earlier talking about ain't no way you can go to school for spirituality. That's something that is self-taught. through life lessons. And you got people going to theological seminaries to get degrees to teach you spirituality. This is a fallacy. It cannot be. Okay? True spirituality comes from life lessons, learning, and doing the work like we're doing right now. Understanding. We just learned a new word. Arhat is a person who's free from the cycle of rebirth. Isn't this beautiful? This is just so beautiful to me. Life is not hard. Everything's laid out, except when you get caught up in these religions, you don't know where to look, you don't know where to turn. You putting all your power into the hands of another being that they telling you got all power over you. When we clearly have our astrological charts to tell us, I'm sorry about this nose ring, what's in our, oh, I have to take this thing out. Tell us what's in our houses, what lords rule over what house when you were born. You know what I'm saying? We got these astrological calendars. We know when the full moon is, when it's best to plant food, when it's, listen, the government and all these people go by these higher times, but they tell you don't do it. So they know when to start wars. They know when to pull a pandemic because they using it for evil because the powers that be are wicked. So come on, y'all, let's get with it. Let's all endeavor to become our hats so we don't have to come back here again. And I can see y'all on the other side and we can just, be happy for eternity. Okay, I went a little too far, but y'all know. Anyway, it says, a developed man has 5 rates of vibration in his astral body. An ordinary man shows at least 9 rates. Wow. With a mixture of various shades in addition. Many people have 50 or 100 rates. The whole surface being broken up into a multiplicity of little whirlpools and cross currents, all battling one against another in mad confusion. I don't need to expound on that. Got to refinish up this chapter, so I'm not going to expound on stuff that's self-explanatory. You can always rewind and think about it and let spirit show you, okay? Because we talking about little whirlpools of emotions spinning around causing mad confusion, and then we talking about mental illness today. Okay. This is the result of unnecessary emotion and worries. The ordinary person of the West being a mass of these, through which much of his strength is frittered away. And that's what I just said. Today we talk about mental illness. And they said that this is due as a result of unnecessary emotion and worries. And people are going through that now. They always trying to spread fear. Always trying to tell you to be food prices going up, people getting evicted, and these are facts that these things are happening. But the things that these things that are happening to whoever's happening to is something that they have to go through to grow. Sometimes we want to jump in and help. And if you can do a little something to relieve a person, that's nice. But some of these people have to go through extreme things to turn them around, to get them on their path. It's not always, you don't know what they did to have to go through that. Remember, thoughts, you're just as responsible for your thoughts as you are for the things that you do and for your intentions and what you do. So the prevailing outcome or the consequence of what you're dealing with, people don't know what the consequence, that this is a consequence. They don't know that. Like you had a lot of people sit back during this pandemic and didn't pay their rent. They felt like, oh, they said we ain't got to pay it. But come on now, you can't just stay in somebody's property and not pay anything and think you just going to get a pass. That person who owns that property still has bills. They still have responsibility. They can't sit up and take care of you. You got to be responsible or go on out there to the streets and make it work for you. Like you got a lot of people doing van life, a lot of people doing living out of their cars. It's not the most comfortable situation, but you have to be responsible. And so a lot of people are just receiving in themselves that recompense for their behavior, right? So it ain't that the world is so bad. People put themselves in situations. We got to remember that. Because, see, I used to be a bleeding heart. Whenever I saw something happening, oh, God, I wish I could help. Oh, man, what can I do? And you getting in the way because this person needs to learn something. And we tend to do that a lot with our children, our families, our loved ones, our friends. Sometimes you got to fall back and you got to let them sink or swim. Because remember, death is an illusion. There is no death. If the sinking means they sink and pass right on up out this world, you'll see them when you cross over. you'll see them again. Sure enough, if you all are truly connected and they're part of your soul family, you'll see them again. We got to stop with all of this. And you know the powers that be don't care about death. Look how they starting wars everywhere. Killing people, dropping bombs, just doing all kinds of stuff, putting out medical stuff that's going to kill people. You know what I mean? They know that there's a cycle of reincarnation for those who don't get themselves together. You know, some of us have to come back many a time before we get the lesson. And some of us have to get hard lessons that nobody can help you with. I've been there on my own, by myself, somewhere where I didn't know nobody else really. I've been there when you ain't have nobody but you in the spirit. And that's what makes you grow. All right. Okay. It says here, an astral body which vibrates 50 ways at once is not only ugly, but also a serious annoyance. It may be compared to a physical body suffering from an aggravated form of palsy with all its muscles jerking simultaneously in different directions. That's an ugly sight to see, somebody suffering like that. Because you know they going through it up in here. They going through it. And it's an ugly sight on the spirit realm to see that. But then at the same time, you saying, oh, these bees ain't nothing. These bees ain't, oh, bro, can I hold $10? Oh, can I do, you seeing all these different expressions coming from them. Like, God, I feel sorry for them, but that brother or that sister is rough. You hear how they talk? You see how she talks to her kids? Or you see how she just don't mind stealing? Or, you know what I'm saying? It's an ugly sight to behold. You know? It says here, such astral effects are contagious and affect all sensitive persons who approach. True story. I can't be around nobody. I've left jobs because of the energy on them jobs. People in the job that just 1 minute they cool, next minute, especially for somebody that's over you, a supervisor. Sometimes you just got to go. You got to go when it's making you sick. Because you know what? If the head and the heart are not in agreement, that's how disease sets in. Because your head is telling you, save yourself, get out of here. Your heart is saying, well, you know what? I don't want to just leave the job like that. I know they need help. So then you got fighting going on within yourself. And next thing you know, where are these bugs? Where are these ladybugs coming from? I need to find out what that means when you have an influx of ladybugs. Like, I went out to make a run, came back to do my recording, and there was a ladybug on my chest. Then there was one sitting here on the couch, and now it's two over there in the window. I don't know where they're coming from, y'all. I don't have no windows open or nothing like that. So I don't know. But you know, I can't pause this. I want to look it up so bad, but I'm gonna wait. So, sometimes, if your heart and your head is not in agreement, that's how the dis-ease means you're not at ease, you're diseased, state sets in, and then you start having symptoms. You start having issues. And the system already outside of you in this matrix wants you sick, wants you dead. They shooting you up with stuff, and then you know what I'm saying? You're not in agreement with yourself. Then everything around you falls down. Because in here, you falling down. Right? So the outside circumstances gonna match what's going on inside. That's all that is. All right. It says here, let me go back to that. Because sensitive persons do not need to be around people who are chaotic. And I don't care if it's family, I will walk out of an event. If I go somewhere, I've done it. I've been somewhere with my husband. And I told him, I said, I don't like the way it feels in here. I know it's a family situation, but it don't sit right with me. I'm ready to go. I'll go back to the room. Like if we go out of town and visit family and it's uneasy for me, I'm removing myself. I need my peace. That's just how I roll. Okay. Says here, such astral effects are contagious and affect all sensitive persons who approach, communicating a painful sense of unrest and worry. And that's how I felt. I went out of town with my husband. This is just a little snippet about me. We went to visit his family for the holidays. He had a cousin there that I did not know. And I did not know that this black woman was moving every which way, just like this book says. And she said some things that were very offensive. It made me feel uncomfortable. And my husband's like, but we're out of town. Just, babe, just ignore it. No, I'm not just ignoring it. I'm going. I'm leaving. I'm leaving. I will see you later on. When you come back to the room, I'll see you. But I'm not staying here. You got to protect yourself at all costs. You got to protect the ease of your you got to protect your mind, your spirit. Forget what other people think. Protect yourself and do it in love. Okay? Says here, it's just because millions of people are thus unnecessarily agitated by all sorts of foolish desires and feelings that it is so difficult for a sensitive person to live in a great city or move amongst crowds. And that is me, honey. That's me all the way. I'm reading about myself. I'm an isolationist. I can only be around a few people at a time, and their energy got to be right. If it ain't right, I can only be around one person at a time. I'm that sensitive. And like I was saying in my last reading, when you grow up in dysfunction, you become like, oh, I'm sorry. Let me go do some of this nose ring. Oh my God. Okay. I'm that sensitive. And when you grow up in an environment of dysfunction, you become highly sensitive like that. You pick up on everything. I can walk into a room and read it real quick because I'm used to different energies like that. All right. Says here, the perpetual astral disturbances may even react through the etheric double and set up nervous diseases. You see that? You can get a condition because, again, your heart and your head are conflicted. You know, it's the situation with going out of town with my husband visits family. My heart is saying, I know I should stay, and because we are out of town, but my head is saying, get the hell out of here. You don't like the way it feels, go. So then I'm gonna stay there and be conflicted and feel sick and not enjoy myself and be sitting there drinking and sitting to the side. No, no, you don't do that. And it can set up nervous diseases like restless leg syndrome, when a person just keep moving their leg, or they can't be still. They can't. You see what I'm saying? Your nerves are affected because you're in an environment you don't want to be in because the energy don't feel right. Get out of there. The centers of inflammation in the astral body are to it. The centers of inflammation in the astral body are to the astral body what boils are to the physical body. Not only acutely uncomfortable, but also weak spots through which vitality leaks away. Oh my God. Do y'all understand what that means? The centers of inflammation in the astral body are what boils are to the physical body, not only acutely uncomfortable, but also weak spots through which your vitality leaks away. That's like you can go in a place and your spirits be high, and you just like, hey, hi, everybody. And then that's how I used to be when I used to go to my job. I would come in on cloud nine and come around it was like walking through quicksand on that job. I was there for a whole year. I tried to stay. But walking through those mental environment on that job was horrific. Not only did I leave, like 5 other people left. It was that bad. There was somebody in a supervisory position that should not have been in it. And her energy, when she would walk in, you could feel it. It was slow and wicked. And it was like, the butterflies you would get in your stomach as a kid when you knew you were in trouble. It was like that. And we all adults. But that wickedness that was riding with her was terrible. And so it got to the point where it would leak away my vitality. By the end of my shift, I would be flat effect. I'll come in higher at the end of the night. You know what I'm saying? Just leaking all my energy. You feel drained. That's what you call an energy vampire. Says here, they also offer practicality. They also offer practically no resistance to evil influence and prevent good influences from being of profit. So basically, you can't even resist it because you're leaking out all your energy, and your good energy is of no profit. It's not helping. And I used to try on my job to be the one to say, oh, it's okay, it's cool, and when that person wasn't there, it was a couple of personalities like that there. And whenever those personalities weren't there, it would be a great day at work. but for the most part, they was there 90% of the time. So, everybody would just be, it would just was an evil environment, very, very evil. Okay, it says here, this condition is painfully common. The remedy is to eliminate worry, fear, and annoyance. The student of occultism must not have personal feelings that can be affected under any circumstances, whatever. That's why you got to remove yourself. What's more important? You get the money or you have your peace of mind and let spirit guide you to something else. You don't stay somewhere and you don't give your body up for something experimental for $1. That means you don't know your power. You don't do that. You put yourself first. Self-preservation is the first law. It says here, only a young child has a white or comparatively colorless aura. The colors beginning to show only as the qualities develop. The astral body of a child is often a most beautiful object, pure and bright in its colors, free from the stains of sensuality, avarice, ill will, and selfishness. But yet, religion will tell you, man born a few days of a woman and full of sin. How the hell a baby gonna be full of sin? And this tells you right here that the astral body, the spirit of the child, is pure. But yet we go and listen to these people telling us you guilty. For what? For what? In it may also be seen lying the latent germs and tendencies brought over from his last life. Right? We talking about reincarnation, y'all. We all been here before. So you can see the germs and the tendency brought over from the last life. This makes me think about my child. Some of them evil, some good, and thus the possibilities of the child's future life may be seen. The yellow of intellect, found always near the head, is the origin of the idea of the nimbus or glory round the head of a saint. All right. Since this yellow is much the most conspicuous of the colors of the astral body and the one most easily perceived by a person on the verge of clairvoyance. So that's that again, that yellow thing around the Christ image, the yellow around the saints. Whenever you look at the old paintings and stuff like that, that's what you see. You see these halos around that they, put around the people's heads. It says, sometimes, owing to the unusual activity of the intellect, the yellow may become visible even in physical matter, so as to be perceptible to ordinary physical sight. We've already seen that the astral body has a certain normal arrangement into which its various portions tend to group themselves. A sudden rush of passion or feeling, however, may temporarily force the whole or almost the whole of the matter in an astral body to vibrate at a certain rate, thus producing quite striking results. All the matter of the astral body is swept about as if by a violent hurricane, so that for the time being the colors become very much mixed. Colored examples of this phenomenon are given in Man Invisible and Man Visible. All right, that's another book, which I don't have that book. It says, in the case of a sudden wave of pure affection, when, for example, a mother snatches up her baby and covers it with kisses, the whole astral body in a moment is thrown into a violent agitation, and the original colors are for the time almost obscured. Analysis discovers four separate effects. Okay. One, certain coils or vortices of vivid colors are to be seen, well defined and solid looking, and glowing with an intense light from within. Each of these is in reality a thought form of intense affection generated within the astral body and bound to be poured forth from it towards the object of the feeling. When the mother pick up her baby and kiss her baby all over, okay? The whirling clouds of living light are indescribably lovely, though difficult to depict. Two, the whole astral body is crossed by horizontal pulsating lines of crimson light, even more difficult to represent by reason of the exceeding rapidity of their motion. Three, a kind of film of rose color covers the surface of the whole astral body, so that all within is seen through it as through tinted glass, rose colored glasses. Four, a sort of crimson flush fills the entire astral body, tinging to some extent the other tinging to some extent the other hues here and there, condensing itself into a regular floating wisp like half formed clouds. Isn't that interesting that you can see all this on the astral plane if you have the astral sight to see it, right? Says here, this display will probably last only a few seconds, and then the body would rapidly resume its normal condition. The various grades of matter sorting themselves again into their usual zones by their specific gravities. Yet every such rush of feeling adds a little to the crimson in the higher part of the oval and makes it a little easier for the astral body to respond to the next wave of affection which may come. Similarly, a man who frequently feels high devotion soon comes to have a large aura of blue in his astral body. And remember, the blues and the yellows are up above. Okay? The effects of such impulses are thus cumulative. And in addition, the radiation of vivid vibrations of love and joy produce good influences on others. With the substitution of blue for crimson, a sudden access of devotion, surging over a nun engaged in contemplation, produces an almost identical effect. Yeah, right. If they really are devoted and not touching girls, right? In the case of intense anger, the ordinary background of the astral body is obscured by coils or vortices of heavy, thunderous masses of sooty blackness, lit up from within by the lurid glare of active hatred. Mm. So when you're intensely angry, the ordinary background of the astral body is obscured by coils or vortices of heavy, thunderous masses of sooty blackness, lit up from within by the lurid glare of active hatred. Wisps of the same dark cloud are to be seen defiling the whole astral body, while the fiery arrows of uncontrolled anger shoot among them like flashes of lightning. These terrible flashes are capable of penetrating other astral bodies like swords and thus inflicting injury upon other people. And y'all, this is why you can't be around people that don't like you. Stop forcing your feet to take you places that you don't belong. I don't care if it's amongst family. I don't care if it's going to a jailhouse to visit somebody and you don't like the environment. Stop forcing your feet to take you places where you don't belong because you're only hurting yourself. In this instance, as in the others, each outburst of rage would predispose the matter of the entire astral body to respond somewhat more readily than before to these very undesirable vibrations. A sudden shock of terror will in an instant suffuse the whole body with a curious, livid gray mist, while horizontal lines of the same hue appear, but vibrating with such violence as to be hardly recognizable as separate lines. The result is indescribably ghastly. All light fades out from the body, and the whole gray mass quivers helplessly like a jelly. I just wanted to say a quick story here. It's just like I always bring up my family because I try to bring up my own experiences in life. It's like, say for okay, again, y'all know I didn't grow up in a most healthy family. Sorry, this nose ring. I'm gonna take this thing out. It's getting on my nerves. I didn't grow up in the most healthy environment, so I would always, when holidays and things like that would come around, I would always feel nervous or feel like I don't want to go. I don't want to be around these people. It just don't feel right. As a child going through that, like this, no, I just want this to be over with. Even as an adult, I am pretty much separated from my family. I haven't been around them like that, and I don't want to go around. I don't, because it does not feel good. We all have not been blessed to have people with good auras in our families, and that's their journey. It's not to talk about anybody, but whatever they need to fulfill. I don't know, because you know what? You got to get on this planet some kind of way. You got to be born through somebody. You got to do. You got to get here. You might be born through your enemy. You know. On that note, it's 54 minutes in. I try not to do more than an hour. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this recording and Right after, I'm gonna post this one on the book on YouTube, not the book, on YouTube, and then I'm gonna do a back to back because I want to finish this chapter today. Each, as a matter of fact, wait a minute, we can go over a little bit. It's just another page left, so I'll just finish it. You know, but like I was saying, we all got to get here some way. You know, don't ever let nobody make you feel bad about what you've been through in your life. Don't let nobody make you feel bad about the dysfunction. It, you open up about it, it'll make you feel so much better. That's why people go to therapy. But sometimes therapy don't even work because some therapists look at you crazy, and sometimes they don't really even care. They just say, "Oh yeah, really? Okay, well, okay, see you next week." You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you got to put the predators on blast. The people, the abusers, you got to put them on blast. You got to let the world know, because you know what? The whole world thinks something wrong with you because of what the predator been saying about you. Because of what the abuser's been saying about you. Because of what people been saying to the rest of the family about you. So you got to be willing to speak your truth. What is there to hide? Who cares if people, oh, she don't have the best relationship? Who gives a damn? I used to feel that way. Like, I can't say nothing because I can't. No, I am a woman of a certain age. I have adult children and grandchildren. I am going to speak what it is. All right. So let's finish this up because we got another page and a half to go, and I don't want to do more than an hour and a half. I want to finish this chapter so the next time I do a reading, I can go right into the next chapter, which is going to be the function of the astral body. Remember, this is the colors. Okay, let's finish. A flood of emotion doesn't greatly affect the mental body, though for a time it may render it almost impossible for any activity from the mental body to come through into the physical brain. Of course, when you flood it with emotion, you can't think. Because the astral body, which acts as a bridge between the mental body and the brain, is vibrating so entirely at one rate as to be incapable of conveying any undulation which it is not in harmony with. Now, my neighbor's out there blasting music. The above are examples of the effects of sudden and temporary outbursts of feeling. There are other somewhat similar effects of a more permanent character produced by certain dispositions or types of character. Thus, when an ordinary man falls in love, the astral body is so completely transformed as to make it scarcely recognizable as belonging to the same person. Selfishness, deceit, and avarice vanish. And the lowest part, remember, avarice is using, right? And the lowest part of the oval is filled with a large development of animal passions. Picture that. The green of adaptability has been replaced by the peculiar brownish green of jealousy, and the extreme activity of this feeling is shown by bright scarlet flashes of anger which permeate it. But the undesirable changes are more than counterbalanced by the splendid band of crimson which feels so large a part of the oval. This is for the time a dominant characteristic, and the whole astral body glows with its light when somebody's in love. It puts all them negative feelings back to the side, and the love and jealousy gets up in there, right? Under its influence, the general muddiness of the ordinary astral body has disappeared, and the hues are all brilliant and clearly marked, good and bad alike. You can see it clearly when somebody's in love. Okay. It is an intensification of the life in various directions. The blue of devotion is also distinctly improved, and even a touch of pale violet appears at the summit of the ovoid, indicating a capacity of response to a really high and unselfish ideal. The yellow of intellect, however, has entirely vanished for the time, a fact which the cynical might consider as characteristic of the condition. You know why the yellow of intellect has disappeared when you're in love? Because you don't think. You love that person. You don't really even see their flaws. You don't see nothing. You ain't thinking. That's why I say you fall in love, because you're not using your intellect. Somebody look good to you, that man fine, that woman got the body like, whoa. You know, the men and the women, they fall in love, and it's like, oh damn, I didn't see this or I didn't see that. And I've been a victim of that too many times. You know, you just like, you don't want to look at none of the negativity. Everything's just like rose colored glasses, like we just read. You don't see it for what it is. You don't think. All right. Says here the astral body of an irritable man usually shows a broad band of scarlet as a prominent feature. And in addition, the whole astral body is covered with little floating flecks of scarlet, somewhat like notes of interrogation. In the case of a miser, avarice, selfishness, deceit, and adaptability are naturally intensified, but sensuality is diminished. The most remarkable change, however, is a curious series of parallel horizontal lines across the oval, giving the impression of a cage. The bars are a deep brown in color, almost burnt sienna. The vice of avarice seems to have the effect of completely arresting development for the time and is very difficult to shake off when once it has gained a firm hold. Y'all remember what avarice is? When avarice has gained a firm hold, it is hard to shake off. Let's go back and look up avarice again. Meaning of the word avarice.
Here's the definition of avarice: extreme greed for wealth or material gain.
Okay, the vice of extreme greed and wealth for material gain seems to have the effect of completely arresting development for the time. Damn, arrested development. That's why you got a lot of these guys get into rap and they never grow up. They never grow. They just want the money. They want to get out there and rap, make that money. Everything is about girls, drugs, and money. You know what I'm saying? The vice of avarice, of greed, seems to have the effect of completely arresting development for the time and is very difficult to shake off when once it has gained a firm hold. Get the bag, get the bag. Deep depression produces an effect in gray instead of brown, very similar to that of the miser. The result is indescribably gloomy and depressing to the observer. No emotional condition is more infectious than the feeling of depression. In the case of a non intellectual man who is definitely religious, if you're religious, you can't be intellectual, the astral body assumes a characteristic appearance. A touch of violet suggests the possibility of response to a high ideal. The blue of devotion is unusually well developed, but the yellow of intellect is scanty. God, dog, y'all hear that? The yellow of intellect is scant. You can't really see that in a religious person because they ain't thinking. Light cold lockdown. Shout out to Brother Phil Valentine. There's a fair proportion of affection and adaptability, but more than the average of sensuality, sensual, lustful, the religious. And deceit and selfishness are also prominent. Need I say more? The colors are irregularly distributed, melting into one another, and the outline is vague, indicating the vagueness of the devotional man's conceptions. Extreme sensuality and the devotional temperament are frequently seen in association, perhaps because these types of men live chiefly in their feelings, being governed by them instead of trying to control them through reason. A great contrast is shown by a man of a scientific type. That's totally different. A total contrast with a scientific type, right? Devotion is entirely absent. Sensuality is much below the average, but the intellect is developed to an abnormal degree for a science type, for his aura, right? Affection and adaptability are small in quantity and poor in quality. A good deal of selfishness and avarice is present, and also some jealousy. A huge cone of bright orange in the midst of the golden yellow of intellect indicates pride and ambition in connection with the knowledge that has been acquired. This is for the scientific type. The scientific and orderly habit of mind causes the arrangement of the colors to fall into regular bands, the lines of demarcation being quite different and clearly marked. The student is urged to study for himself the admirable book from which the above information is taken, this being one of the most valuable of the many works produced by the great and gifted writer Bishop C.W. Leadbeater. As we have been dealing here with colors in the astral body, it may be mentioned that the means of communication with the elementals, which are associated so closely with man's astral body, is by sounds and colors. Students may recollect obscure allusions now and again to a language of colors, and the fact that in ancient Egypt sacred manuscripts were written in colors Mistakes in copying being punished with death. To elementals, colors are as intelligible as words are to men. To spirits, they see the colors. And I'm going to get ready to end on this note. We went hour and 5 minutes, but let me just say what my teacher said a long time ago. He said it only takes something, but only takes 2 seconds for your colors to change. For those negative, wicked spirits, for those elementals that are of the negative kind, to see that anger has set in, they see that and they jump in. I'm sure you've experienced anger to the point where you couldn't calm yourself down. That's because something has jumped in, right? And you're like, I just can't let it go. I just now you housing something in your auric field, right? These negative elementals are attached to you now. So now you got to go calm yourself down somewhere, play some calming music or something to calm yourself down. All right. So I just wanted to throw that out there. So now we've been through the general description of the astral body, the composition and the structure. That was all in part one and two. That was chapter 1 and 2 that I did in the first video. This was chapter 3, the colors. So next week, not next week, actually, I'll have this. I'm going to do this tomorrow. We're going to go into the function of the astral body, and we're going to get into karma. What causes karma, right? Because remember, y'all, Earth is a school. You here to learn as well as have fun. And you are a spiritual being having a human experience. Don't get it twisted. You ain't human with a little bit of spirituality. No, you all spirit having a human experience. And again, this is your girl, Unique Air. Thank you for joining me for a wonderful reading, spending a little time with me and going and diving deep, getting that understanding. And I will see you in the next recording. Bye.